You do not need to spend big money on a solid SUV. In fact, some of the best SUVs are the ones most people barely even look at today. And a lot of buyers pass right by them. And that's exactly why they can be such great deals. So today, we're going to be talking about the 5 cheap SUVs people ignore that are actually gold mines. So if you like truck and SUV related content, hit the subscribe button right now because I do upload content almost every day. So, all right, so let's get into the video here. Now, when most people hear the cheap SUV, the first thing I find with most people is they think junk. They think it's going to break down, has no features, can be a waste of money, but that is not always true. Some of these used SUVs, you know, they have got lots of things going for them, is what I tell people. And if you know where to look, you can get a whole lot for your money, is what I tell people all the time. The problem is a lot of people judge cheap SUVs way too fast. They see a low price and think, something's got to be wrong with it. That's the first thing people think of. And a lot of buyers worry about reliability first, which I don't blame them one bit. They think a cheap SUV is just one repair bill away from being a nightmare, and I can see where they're coming from. Then there is the feature problem. People assume that SUVs are stripped down, uncomfortable, and outdated. The picture rough, they picture rough rides, cheap interiors, and not much space. And then there's the resale value. A lot of folks think if they buy a cheap SUV, it is not going to be worth much later. So they feel like they're just throwing away their money. But the truth is, some of these ideas are pretty old. Not every cheap SUV is bad, is what I tell people. Some get overlooked because buyers are too focused on big names, and some are just plain underrated. This is where smart buyers come out and ahead here now, is what I always tell people. Because if you do your homework properly, there are some cheap SUVs out there that are really reliable, useful, and honestly, I think personally, a steal for the money. Now, the first one on the list here that I tell people is the Mazda CX-5. This one gets overlooked quite a bit, but it is actually one of the better all-around used SUVs you can really buy. It has a nicer interior than a lot of people expect. It drives well, and it usually feels more expensive than it really is. A used CX-5 can give you a good mix of comfort. It's pretty decent on gas and a solid value. That is the big reason why it stands out, in my opinion. The second here on the list is the Hyundai Santa Fe. This SUV can be really smart, but if that's if you can find a clean one, of course. It's roomy, comfortable, and often comes with more features than people expect in this price range. A lot of the used Santa Fe's models feel practical without feeling cheap, is what I tell people. Now, um, the third on the list is what I always tell people is the Ford Escape. A lot of people ignore it because it's common, but being common is not always a bad thing, is what I say. There are a lot of them around. Parts are usually easier to find, and there are plenty of used options to choose from. And if you find one that has been, taken care of properly, it can be a simple, practical SUV that does the job without draining your bank account, is what I always say. The fourth one on the list is the Kia Sportage. Now, this is another SUV that people sleep on. It usually has a sharper look, a decent amount of space, and a price that's pretty reasonable in the used market. Some models years offer a lot of value because you get a modern looking style, useful features without paying a premium price, is what I tell people. Now, the fifth one on the list is my personal favorite, of course, the Nissan Rogue. Now, some people pass on the Rogue because it does not always get talked about as much as some rivals. but it can still be a very useful SUV for the money. It is usually comfortable, it has good cargo space, and works well for daily life, is what I tell people. For someone who just wants an affordable SUV for commuting, errands, family use, the Rogue can make a lot of sense. Now, I'm going to go over the pros and cons of some of these SUVs. Now, the pros here for the Mazda CX-5. The CX-5 is for someone who wants a cheap SUV that still feels nice inside. It usually looks better than a lot of the rivals. The cabin feels more upscale. It drives more like a car than a bulky SUV. Here's the pros. Good looking interior. It's got solid fuel economy for a gas SUV. Standard safety tech. A more premium feel than what people mostly expect, I find. The CX-5 has the 2.5 S models use a 2.5 liter four cylinder, making 187 horsepower. And I'm pretty sure it's 186 foot-pounds of torque. It's usually averages around 26 city and 30 highway, but it's got a combined multi miles per gallon of about 28. Now the cons here. It's not the roomiest SUV. I'm going to be honest. It's not usually that big inside, and some people may want more cargo room or a bigger back seat. It's more about comfort and feel than maximum space. So remember that. That means it works great for small families or commuters, but it's not always best for people who need the biggest interior possible. Now, the pros and cons of the Hyundai Santa Fe. And like I say, the Santa Fe stands out because it gives you a lot of space and family friendly use. So it's a strong pick for buyers, I find, who want comfort, cargo room, and even third row in newer models. The pros on this one is it's got big interior, and it really does. Useful cargo space, available all-wheel drive, a strong power to the turbo version. The recent Santa Fe spec shows, it's got 277 horsepower from the 2.5 liter turbo four cylinder, which is pretty decent, up to up to almost 80 cubic feet of cargo space. So it's got a gas mileage of 20 city, 29 highway, and a combined of 24 miles per gallon. The cons, though, with this one, it is bigger than some people need. It depending on the model year, you got to watch this. Some shoppers may also prefer simpler styling over the newer boxier design. I personally, I'm not big on the newer one yet. I find it just looks kind of boxy, but hey, that's me. Now the Ford Escape, why people buy it? Well, the Escape is practical. It's easy to find for used parts. If something goes wrong, and there are a lot of trims and powertrains that gives buyers more choice, I find. The pros, it's got strong cargo room, easy to find in the used market. It's got good fuel economy, especially in a hybrid. Recent Ford specs, when I last looked it up, it's pretty decent for, it's 27 miles per gallon city, 34 miles per gallon highway, and it's got a combined of about 30. The 1.5 liter EcoBoost is, it's not pretty bad engine. It's pretty decent, is what I'm trying to say. The hybrid is even better at 42 miles per gallon city, 36 highway, and a combined of 39. So now the cons with this one, it's not always the most exciting SUV in the group, I find, and some buyers may feel the interior is a little plain compared with the Mazda. So now the Kia Sportage, why people buy this one is the Sportage is a strong value play because it gives buyers a lot of room and solid features. Now the pros on this one, lots of rear seat legroom, strong cargo room, decent miles per gallon, and a simpler natural aspirated engine that many buyers like for everyday use. It's got a 2.5 liter, 187 horsepower with 178 foot-pounds of torque. It's got a 25 miles per gallon city, all averages about 32 highway, and a combined of 28. So it's pretty decent. The cons now with this one is it's not about comfort or value than performance. So people looking for quick acceleration may not be impressed with this one. So it's not very fast. Some buyers also just overlook the Kia, because of habit, I find. Now, my personal favorite out of the bunch, out of the five, Nissan Rogue. Why people buy this one. The Rogue is an everyday SUV. It works for commuting, groceries, family trips, regular life, is what I tell people. It's got the pros for this one. It's good cargo room, and it does because I own one. Useful tech, strong torque for daily driving, and a solid fuel economy. Um, Depending on the model and the trim, it comes with a 1.5 liter turbo 3-cylinder engine with 201 horsepower and 225 foot-pounds of torque. But it also comes with the 2.5 liter as well. It's got pretty decent miles per gallon. You're looking at roughly 28 city to 35 highway and 31 combined. Now, the cons with this one is some buyers are cautious about the Nissan because of older reputation issues, and the Rogue is not usually the first SUV enthusiasts get excited about. It is more of the practical choice than a fun choice, is what I find. But if you are a little weary of the Nissan Rogue, just go to Consumer Reports, and you can look up all the generation Rogues, and it'll tell you which years to buy and which years not to buy. So when you really break these five down, each one has its own reason to buy it. The CX-5 feels more upscale. The Santa Fe, gives you more space, of course. The Escape gives you practicality. The Sportage gives you value. And the Rogue gives you everyday comfort and usability. This is why people should, not judge it. I find a cheap SUV too fast. So that is the video. Put in the comments what, SUV, if you're buying a used SUV today, which one you would consider. And that is the video. And be safe. And I will talk to you in the next one. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and bye for now.